It has been a hectic week for Republican leaders as they try to muster the support needed to pass President Trump's big, beautiful budget reconciliation bill. And yet there's all sorts of disagreements over certain parts of the provisions, and the spending cuts have the whole process has just slowed down, especially, as I mentioned just a while ago, the Budget Committee earlier voted down that bill from advancing. So where do we go from here? The attempt was to get it passed before Memorial Day. Who knows whether or not that'll happen? We're here to discuss this and more is Congressman Andy Biggs. He's a member of several committees, including the Oversight and Government Reform Committee. He represents the 5th Congressional District of Arizona. Congressman Biggs, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Great to be with you, Jody. Thanks for having me. It's always good to see you.
It was great to see you, my friend. Listen, Andy, before we even get going, you and I have been dear friends for many years now, and you have been certainly heavy in my thoughts and prayers in recent weeks. In fact, thousands from this program have been praying for you as well in the loss of your daughter to cancer. I would be remiss to begin this interview without starting by asking, how are you and the family holding up?
Well, first of all, thank you to everybody who's sent prayers and cards and flowers and thoughts. And, we've really felt that support. The family's doing pretty well, all things considered. I mean, obviously grief comes in waves, but, the 3 little kids that she had they're the ones that we need to focus on. And that's that they're doing okay, but they have their moments as well. But by and large, this is in God's hands, and we have felt his support.
Well, we love you, and we're praying for you. Please send our love to your family.
I will.
All right, Andy. If I can, let's talk about this so-called big, beautiful bill. What's the current state? It didn't come out of the Budget Committee, so where do we go from here?
Well, because it's Republicans that voted no as well, they can bring that back at any time and do a motion to reconsider and vote it without actually doing any more hearing on it. The 5 that voted against it, 4 HFC, 1 non-HFC, they have committed to staying there and continue to work on it. So what I will tell you is this. I still believe that this is attainable by Memorial Day, and I believe that you're going to see a lot of action perhaps over the weekend to try to resolve these differences. There are multiple factions. Don't forget you have the SALT, state and local tax group, led by New Yorkers, Californians, some Illinois folks, Republicans who said they were going to vote no. So there's a lot to be done here. And I will just tell you that I think everybody's pretty happy with the tax package. That's President Trump's tax package. So, I mean, you could even split it out and do that first with the border control, and then do the other issues later. But these reforms, I mean, they're keeping some of the most pernicious forms of the Green New Deal stuff in there, including subsidies. Some of the reforms that they have, which are simply to do something that has been a bipartisan issue, which is work requirements. They don't even kick in those work requirements for 5 years, Jody. So, I think a lot of people are trying to get to yes, and I think we eventually will get to yes, but obviously it's not quite ready for prime time yet.
Well, and not only in the House, I mean, we've got Senate Republicans as well that appear, at least from my vantage point on the outside, they appear to be wanting to transform the current House bill. So what are you expecting from your colleagues over in the Senate?
Well, just so you know, several of us meet with senators every week, and I think that there's a group of senators that have told us that if some of these changes aren't made in the House, they're not going to support it. Others don't want any of those changes and don't even like the House bill. So the Senate's going to have their own special brand of problems, Jody, as you know well from watching it. But I still think it's possible to get this thing done before July 4th. I think we should have had it done before April 1st myself, but we are where we are. People still trying to get there, though. And that's the good thing. And I will just say, I have to say this because a lot of people say, well, why don't you guys just vote lockstep like the Democrats do? We don't do that because we're trying to rep our constituents. We're trying to give President Trump what he wants. We're trying to save the country, and we're trying to stop this massive growth of the structural deficit, because even with the cuts that the House bill makes, you're going to be well north of $60 trillion in national debt in 10 years, Jody. And so it's very important that you take care of this stuff.
Absolutely. I want to get to the issue with James Comey here, but before I do, I think some people are really confused on how a reconciliation bill really holds within it the ability to advance President Trump's agenda. Can you, in a real brief moment, just kind of give a bird's eye view as to how that works?
Yeah, because what you're doing is you're reconciling spending with reductions. So in other words, you have to find the pay-fors, right? And so that allows us to basically lock in and say, we're going to do this border security program, but we know it's going to cost $20 billion. So we're going to pay for that $20 billion by imposing or taking away a Green New Deal subsidy that costs $20 billion. And now you've reconciled that. That's the way it works. And that's why it's a little bit more difficult than normal budgeting. But what it is it's absolutely finding, if you're going to have a program, you got to pay for it.
That's the way to move forward. All right, we just have a few minutes left. I want to get to this whole issue, disturbing news, frankly, with former FBI Director James Comey. I'm sure you've seen the image he posted on Instagram where he put up the 8647, which certainly has been interpreted, at least, as a call to potentially assassinate President Trump. What do you make of this situation? It's pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, it's an incredibly dangerous situation. First of all, let's contextually admit that President Trump receives more death threats than anybody else in the world, number one. Number two, there's actually been two physical attempts on his life that through God's grace he survived and lived. Number three, you have a guy who was the head of the federal police apparatus of the United States of America and a former prosecutor saying that he didn't know that 8647 had a connotation of violence. I just don't believe that. There's no way I can accept that, because 8647 has actually been making the rounds as a call to assassinate President Trump. So for him to later put out a post after he takes that down saying, hey, I had no idea it had any connotation with violence, either he was the most naive and ignorant of prosecutors and FBI directors we've ever seen, or else he was being untruthful in declaiming and explaining that, oh, I didn't know that was a call to violence. Very, very dangerous, Jody. Very dangerous to have him fueling some of these crazos out there that want to kill President Trump, and he fueled it.
So you would take this as a threat, really, coming from Comey?
I would, yeah. I mean, that no less than the DNI director, Tulsi Gabbard, who you and I both served with, and we know her well. She said, look, he should be in jail because that is a call to violence, a call to assassinate the president.
Yeah, there's no way. I totally agree with you. I don't think there's any way the former FBI director could look at these two numbers and not recognize what they meant. And then for him to come back and say he had no idea. Well, if he had no idea what they meant, why did he post them in the first place? I mean, it's just random numbers. What would he think they meant? But it's just unthinkable that he didn't know exactly what he was posting, and for political reasons that he may have. Congressman Andy Biggs, always great to see you, my friend. Thank you, as always, for the incredible work you do, your leadership there in Washington and abroad, and for always coming on Washington Watch program. We appreciate it greatly.
God bless you and Dee Dee and your family and all of the Washington Watch family. Thanks for having me.